Alright guys, here TWBF coming at you from my den here in Delaware, Ohio. Yes, this video is about I'm going to show you my favorite worm rig that worked the best for me here in 2022. And yeah, I had days right there where I wasn't getting bit and on my traditional reaction baits and traditional Texas rigs, and I decided to go with a neko setup. I'll show you my neko setup here. And the hook that I started using is the Sniper excuse me, Finesse weedless owner hook, and it's got this titanium weed guard, that double titanium weed guard that works quite well. I was surprised that I wasn't getting hung up hardly at all, even in the weeds. It wasn't gunking up on here, and I'm very satisfied with this hook. And I've been using a 1/0 mostly, and the worm, there's a couple worms that I did well on, and I like a worm that has a little more body to it, a little more meat, plus it's longer. I like a 6.5 inch worm with a good tail action. Plus one, if the tail floats, makes it even better. And this, one of my favorite worms here is the 13 Fishing. They call it the bubble butt. I know that's a funny name, but this section of this worm here will float up, and it looks great in the water. And it's got a couple of slits in it right here, or indentations for you, 2 spots you can put your O-rings. And the other worm that I like, and it's got great tail action, is why I decided to try it on a neko. And that is the Missiles Baits Quiver worm. This tail, because it's so narrowed down, it's got, you can see how it wiggles in the water. It goes, yeah, it's got a lot of good action. I like that worm, and I like the 6.5 inch worms. Like I said, you're going to get a better bite. I'll stay away from the little 4.5 inch worms. I don't bother with those. I get a much better bass with the 6.5 inch worm. So those are my worms, and I like, when I work my worm, I like to cast it out and swim it back, and I'll let it fall down once in a while and let it sit still on the bottom, and a lot of times that's when I get my bite. Especially if it's kind of gunked up on weeds, I'll jerk it loose, let it fall, and I'll get bit a lot of times. And so from the hook, we got these O-rings. There's 2 different types of O-rings, and we'll put one on this worm here. VMC came out with these new crossover rings, they're called. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me put it on here. This is a VMC ring install tool. And you put it inside the O-ring, and you open it up like that. It's got a hole this way and a hole this way through the ring to install your hook point. And one way you install the hook point is vertical for neko rigging, the other way is for wacky rigging. And in this application, we're going to use the hole that runs vertical for neko rigging. And I'm going to take my worm here, open this up, slide it through. We're using the bubble butt worm, and I'm going to take it about halfway up the worm, and it's got a slit right there. And there's your O-ring. Now you do have the old original round, or you want to call them regular O-rings. They work too. In fact, they may last longer than these crossover rings. My verdict's still out on that issue, but I do use them both. And that's just your standard O-ring. Now, the next thing is to add your weight. Now, I've got two different weights that I use. Now, if I'm fishing deeper than 10 feet, I'll use these ball weights that have this coil. See that coil there? And I'll screw that into the head of the worm. I'll use anywhere from 1/8 to 1/4, depending on what depth. The other style weight I use is a nail weight. Depending how much weight I want, I'll cut this into thirds, and sometimes I'll use 1/3 of it, depending on how shallow I want, or slow if I fall I want. But what we'll do is we're going to stick this into the head of the worm, just like that. Well, you can see that first slit there. Now I'll bite that off, and the reason I do that is you can get your nail weight much straighter that way, and it's got this flat surface. It makes it easier to go down through and keep straight. So that's why I do that. Okay, there's your nail weight. And there's your ring. Now, to add weight, or to add a hook, there's a certain way you want to put a hook in on one of these. You want to insert the hook point towards the tail of the worm. This helps with a better hook set. When a bass chomps down like this, he's going to get that hook point. He usually comes down like this. All right. And that way, if you have it the other way, going towards the weight, you're going to get hung up more, for one thing, and you're not going to get as many hookups. So you want to take your hook point going towards the tail, and you find that little hole on the O-ring. Run that up. Through the hole, just like that. And that thing's solid, it's not going anywhere. And there's your finished product. And you do want to, when you throw this worm out, most of the times I'll keep it just hopping across the bottom. Sometimes I'll kill it near isolated cover, let's say, and this tail will float up. But just keep it coming real slow. Sometimes kill it, and this has been my best that I've done this year, this rig right here. Now you can even use crawls with their pinchers stuck up in the air. I've caught a few fish doing that too, like a crawl worm. And now the rod setup I use for this is a 7-foot medium heavy fast action rod. I use a braid, high vis braid to fluorocarbon leader. I like to use a long leader, 8-10 pound test. I use like a 20-foot leader so I don't have to retie that FG knot so often. That's one reason I like to use a longer leader. And I think with this setup, you can still have a real finessey approach and get big bass out of isolated heavy cover. So, hope that helps you. That's my favorite worm rig for 2022. And I'm going in for knee surgery here in about a week, and I'm not going to get to fish the rest of the year until I go to Florida in January, and then I can start sending out videos, posting videos again. But until then, you guys, thanks for all your support. I'll see you January from Florida, and good luck to everybody. See you.